Hi.
Hi.
My name is Christopher Marcus, and this is
Tori.
And this is the Freak Show. This is one of our first episodes, and we're excited to be here to talk about alternative relationships, polyamory, the adult industry. We kind of are planning on going into quite a few areas of topic. How are you doing tonight?
Good, I'm excited.
You're excited?
Yeah.
Is this first time on camera? No.
No.
If you haven't seen Tori's page, what's your URL?
Oh, OnlyFans/GlazeBabe24.
Oh, I meant Instagram, but that's a great plug. That was a great plug. What's your Instagram?
It's ToriGirl101.
There you go, guys. Hit her up on OnlyFans, though.
The censored.
The
All the
censored.
censored stuff.
Mine's at Freak Hustler. You can check me out on Instagram. And we're here. We're excited to kind of broaden the spectrum of people's view of alternative relationships and the adult industry, and everything that's transpiring in today's culture. Yeah.
Get out the box.
Get out the box. So we kind of we're thinking of some ideas, and I've been so personally busy that I forced Tori to do everything, and one Russian tear. So we're gonna go over some topics. We are in a polyamorous relationship. Tori is my partner, and Tori has a husband. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been married for 6 years and with my husband for 8. We started off like mono-poly, so only I was having like extramarital relationships, but he was free to and just never did.
With males or females?
Females.
Okay.
Only females. That was my only area of interest.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Long story, but yeah, and we got into good. It's been a long road, but everything's going really good. I feel like our relationship has changed so much from when we first started dating, but just first came into Playhouse and stuff. We're so much more open sexually and emotionally, and it's really nice. The connection is a lot stronger.
We tend to bring that out of people.
Yeah, it's going good.
That's awesome. So inside of your relationship, what are some of the benefits that you like about your relationship between Brian, yourself, and me?
All together, just between us, or just between all the relationships?
I mean, what are the positive sides? Just.
A positive for sure is getting to be in a relationship with you and see what areas I can work on with Brian. What are some of our weaknesses, because my relationships are so different depending on the partner.
That's what I love. Honestly, that's one of my favorite things is gaining a new perspective on partners, because new partners come in and then you kind of you vibe, and then you kind of see things from a different light, or you have issues with one partner that you don't have with another.
Yeah. And
it's very interesting, and I think it gives you a much better perspective. What are some of the downsides?
Now that it's different, it's not so many downsides. It's we're all communicating, but before, if I was talking to Brian about something and you go and talk to you about it, if I'm bothered, I'm just man, all my business is getting put out here. But it's also a positive too. Yeah. Because if I don't reach out for help, one of my other partners is said, hey, she might need some help. And
nice. That's very true. And that's nice for me, because I'm a dumb cunt, so I'm kind of whoa, and then, and sometimes things kind of transpire that I'm I really don't understand or get, and then I kind of put those things on myself, and then, a text from Brian comes in and he's hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah, and I'm oh, it's not all about me. Weird.
Yeah, get out of that world.
Yeah, it's hard to sometimes, huh? Mm-hmm. So what are some of the topics you wanted to talk about today?
Communicating. We were talking about that last night.
Communication.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I mean, both monogamous and alternative relationships, I don't think that neither of them necessarily make it easier for communication. And that, honestly, regardless of what type of relationship you're in, communication's like number one probably.
Key.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because without communication, you're kind of lost.
Left in Shit's Creek without a paddle.
What are some of the things that help you with the communication side?
I feel like that's probably where I struggle the most.
It's very true.
Because I internalize everything. I'd rather just think out my thoughts and then kind of navigate from there by myself.
She's like, oh, do it myself.
I'm an independent black woman. I don't need anyone. Yes, you do, bitch. It's easier, like it's a little easier communicating with you day by day, even though I feel like very open and vulnerable, but I guess that's not the same as being open and communicating, you know?
Yeah, communication's much easier for me just because of my lifestyle and the way that I kind of live, and I'm the type of person that jumps forward with things. When things happen, I'm kind of like, oh shit, like this transpired, I'm gonna go after it, I'm gonna see what's going on. You okay there?
Problems offset.
The crew might be fucking you up a little bit. So I like to face things head on, and I mean there are still those feelings of like, you know, when I'm going into a conversation or I'm going into like confront something, I'm like, okay, like I get that uneasy feeling. I get like the nervous, I get those feelings, but I know once it's over with, whether it's positive or negative, I know that I'll feel so much better. So it's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid, if you will, you know?
I'm like, oh, it hurts to get it out.
Yeah, but you rip off your Band-Aids like this.
See, it depends.
And they're really long Band-Aids too. They're going all the way up your arm.
No, it depends on the person. Sometimes it's really easy, and some people are like, you're so blunt, and like you'll just say something, and I will. And
that's true. I've heard you say some shit to some people where I'm like, oh damn, Tori.
What? Like,
damn, Tori. I mean, you tell people how you feel. It's good. It's not a negative thing at all. It's like, and that's how I am in a lot of ways. I have to tell people how I feel. You know, get it out.
Yeah, you're definitely very honest with your communication. What, me? I gotta speak up?
Yeah.
Not too loud.
Say it again.
I said you're definitely. Oh my god.
I just wanted to hear that part.
You're better and very honest with your communication.
Yeah.
You're really talking about difficult subjects.
Yeah, I mean, and entrepreneurship honestly helps a lot with that, because I do have to, have those conversations on the daily, or go to business meetings, or do all this communication type stuff. So that actually really helps me in a big way.
How do you not feel bad about it? Communicating about the shitty stuff, the stuff that you know is gonna probably put someone in a mood or rub them a certain type of way. I
don't feel bad for anybody. No, I'm just
kidding. It's time to apologize to
absolutely nobody.
Anytime that song comes on, that's what I think of.
The Triple Champ does whatever he wants. That's coming soon. It's reality. It's the reality of the situation, and I'm kind of like, okay, well. I definitely dig deep into situations before I, head them, so like I dive into the situation looking at different aspects, different perspectives, and I kind of like break it all down, and I try I've been trying to be better at getting the information to people the way that they'll accept it the best, the way that they'll understand it the best. And sometimes I'm extremely blunt, and I don't give things off the right way at all, and it's like I'll say something and I'll be like, shit, that was totally like not the way to say that, because that's not, they're gonna take it not the way I meant it, essentially, you know. And you can't, other people can't be in your brain. They can't like mind read. We're close with science, but I mean, at this point we can. At this point,
insert like a swirl kind of thing, like zoom in and like.
Yeah, at this point, we can't do that. So since we can't do that, I really try and figure out, you know, my partners and the way that they react to certain things, the way that, you know, the way that they think I take into consideration, because you know, giving them the right information, the way that they're going to see it, the way that you're giving it to them is very challenging. And I butcher it sometimes. I'm not the best or a master at all. But that's kind of how I go about it. And then I just dive in.
From there.
Hey, we need to talk. But yeah.
Mass anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, most people don't like to talk. They don't like to share their feelings. They don't like to open up.
I feel really attacked right now. You really do me.
No, I gotta say you're impressive in the way that you've grown so much with your communication. You know, when you know, we met and you felt any type of way, you were just gone. I was like, where'd Tori go? Tori's just gone.
Keep my feelings in check.
Yeah, that's what he kept saying. I'm gonna keep my feelings in check. I'm like, oh fuck, I must have been an asshole tonight.
No.
Not always.
No.
Okay.
I
That's
think
nice.
you're hardly ever an asshole. I feel like other
Say
people
that part again.
think that you're an asshole most of the time, and for me, I think you're hardly ever an asshole. Like, you're never an asshole to me.
I'm definitely an asshole.
Not an asshole.
Okay.
A little like like the irritation kicks in sometimes, but I'm never like, oh my god, Chris is such an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to be a little bit. Although I think that comes with, you know, not caring what people think about you. I try to be nice and ethical, and you know, I'm always there for people, which I really think that kind of sets me apart. But at the same time, I can't be fake and I can't be dishonest to people, which then makes people think that I'm an asshole, you know. So there's that.
It is what it is.
What about you? How do you have conversations? What goes through your process?
So I usually, if something like ticks me off, or like I hear something that's like during a conversation that kind of like rubs me the wrong way, I usually like carry on with the conversation, but like kind of like just process, because I don't want to like go off or anything like that, you know. So I like to process first, and then I like to go to that person, like just hang out normal at first, and then get to like the conversation that like needs to be had, you know, like the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I lack grace for sure.
A lot of times, you know, when I have a hard time, and that's why I don't process too much. I have a hard time, instead of processing, like internalizing. And then when I do that, that usually tends to me thinking of things that may not be true or exactly the way things happened. And I think that that's a big defense mechanism for me, has been to just try to do that right away. Like, take care of it right away. Oh shit, it's hot on my mind, it's fresh, like rip off the Band-Aid now.
It's like the worst thing for me to do.
And I mean, everybody deals with confrontation and communication differently, and they should. I mean, everybody's different.
Yeah, I feel like it's like learning styles. You know, like different people have different learning styles. So
Different workout styles,
so
different
communication
diets.
is definitely the same way.
Yeah. No,
Some people
100%.
just don't receive information, like depending on the way you give it.
Yeah. No, that's very true. That's very true. What's your next topic?
My next topic.
Your next topic. We'll continue with communication.
Do you want to get into the juicy?
All right, we'll keep going with communication. I don't know what a juicy is yet, but she's got some juicy.
Stop. I thought you said give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want.
Juicy.
Bring me the shit. Manta.
What is that?
I don't know.
Hey,
can't see. Is it too bright? It's too bright for you?
Yes.
You're beautiful. You're shining like a star.
Yes, I know. Glistening.
Glisten.
Mm-hmm.
Glisten. The forefront to communication. Did you want to continue with that?
The forefront. No, I feel like honesty is
a huge factor in
with communication, but I feel like it's more in the way of you need to be honest with yourself and understanding your own feelings, because a lot of people don't. Big one,
because everybody expects everybody to be honest with them.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't tend to do is like look at themselves and go, am I being honest with myself?
Yeah.
Because I think obviously that's going to be the number one factor in being honest with anybody else.
But that ties into self-worth.
Yeah, and maybe you might need some self-work. We've both kind of been doing a little bit more studying on polyamory leading up to this podcast, and being in it is a huge change, right? And it's a lot of knowledge. I've been in polyamory for almost 11 years, I would have to say. I'd have to recount, but probably 11 years, somewhere around there. And I've learned so much. Like it's really been an incredible experience. I've had multiple polyamorous relationships, which have all led me to where I am now with dating that way. And a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, you've figured it out. Like you've figured out polyamory, and you do all this amazing stuff, and you have all these girls around, and I really haven't figured it out. I try to better myself and better my relationship with my partners on the daily, but it's really been through experience that I've been able to develop so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then reading these books and actually like diving into what's going on as far as our relationship and other relationships, and kind of the do's and don'ts, which reading a lot of these books, I'm like, I had to find that out the hard way. And it did ruin a lot of relationships for me. So my biggest recommendation to anybody trying to get into polyamory is study it. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy, and a lot of people think it's easy. They look at it from an outside perspective and go, "Oh, all the wild sex you get to have," because that's all my life is really. I mean, to be honest, it's just me running around having great sex with everybody. But yeah, I mean, I'd say studying's probably the most beneficial thing if you're interested in getting into polyamory.
Mm-hmm. It feels really good reading books that pertain like specifically to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely true. Are there any books off the top of your head? I mean, other than More Than Two, which I think is amazing. I've only been through the first few chapters, and I was like, wow, like they really. And I didn't always, a lot of people ask me, they're like, hey, can you recommend any, polyamorous books? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, like I've read fucking 20, 30 like entrepreneur books, but I've really never dived into that. I've studied here and there. I've watched documentaries, and I've done some studying, but once I read that book, I definitely recommended that to quite a few people. At least even just the first chapter was very, very, I think will be very eye-opening for a lot of people in the monogamous world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So communication, as far as, you come in, we just talked about heading into a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's kind of how I break through. The conversation during, I think it's very important to hear your partner's point of view and take that point of view, have a lot of empathy for it, and kind of try to understand where they're coming from before you continue going on with the conversation. Because if you can't do that, I feel like you're just kind of waiting to respond.
Not like listening.
Exactly.
Not really listening.
And I mean, you kind of, and I see that in a lot of relationships, us having such a big community and having all these parties and having all these relationships. I can't tell you how many relationships I've sat in on and, had all these conversations where I really sat back and I looked at them going back and forth, and I'm like, fuck, neither of you are hearing anything either of you are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also tell that they were kind of like sitting there blanking out everything that the other person was saying,
mm-hmm.
and then waiting for them to stop so that they can like give their perspective. And everybody in a way wants to be right or wants to be heard,
mm-hmm.
Which are two completely different things. And that sometimes creates some like serious issues, as far as what I've seen.
No, yeah, I've seen it too. I've seen it too. We've all seen it.
As far as what I've seen.
Do you think there's a, like when it comes in terms of perspective, do you think there is a right perspective?
I think there's an ethical perspective.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's a much better way, because I was like, how can I like really explain like what I'm talking about? But yeah,
because you could, I mean, right or wrong is a matter of an opinion.
mm-hmm.
You know, and I like to say that there's no wrong or right. There are actions, and then there are consequences
mm-hmm.
To those actions. And it was one of my teachers. He said that the decisions you make today will affect your tomorrow, and that kind of like lived with me forever. And I'm really actually shout out to Mr. Romero for that one. What was it? Third grade, second grade, some shit. But
you
know,
can remember that far back that you can't remember anything else.
I barely remember my own name.
Everyone
Most
heard
days.
it.
Most days. I don't hide that.
You know your own name.
I tell everybody.
You love yourself.
I happen to have a love affair with myself every now and then.
I like
Just
it.
me in the bathroom
with
with some flowers and a hot tub, just in there masturbating. No?
I didn't think you were going there, so I didn't know what else to do other than shake your head.
Looking at myself in the mirror. Ooh.
You do.
Oh,
I do that.
You definitely
I
do that.
definitely do it.
I've witnessed.
I check myself out all the time. I love myself.
As you should.
Confident.
As you should. As everybody should. A lot of people see it as a negative thing when you're selfish and you love yourself, but I think that if you love yourself and you are selfish in a positive way, you'll be much happier in life, and you'll be able to share that happiness with your partners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my life is much better now that I really love and appreciate myself, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Able to give a lot more.
Yeah, and a lot of people always, I get a lot of like people writing me, and they're like, "Man, you and Tori are so happy. You and Tori are so happy." And what they don't see is the amount of self-love and obsession for ourselves.
I think that's what we do so good, though. We're both the same way in this.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I think that you have to be that way to an extent to make sure that you don't have those insecurities that could potentially rip your relationship
mm-hmm.
apart.
Yeah.
Because insecurity is I mean, it's bad in monogamous relationships, but it is
polyamory, it festers.
Really bad. Well, not only does it fester, but there's two things: jealousy and insecurity. In a way, are kind of like cancers, and they will spread throughout
mm-hmm.
a group. And through Playhouse and through all these other collectives that I've built over the course of my life, these large groups of people,
mm-hmm.
I've been able to kind of see from an outside perspective, certain people come into the group that have these negative traits, and it kind of just spreads throughout the group, and it causes a lot of turbulence,
mm-hmm.
And then we kind of have to
break it up.
Stop it and
mm-hmm.
say, all right, well, we can't, have that toxic environment anymore, and we gotta pack up and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've left full groups, because sometimes that takes over the entire group, and it's very hard. Yeah, and it's very hard to, once it does take over an entire group, it's really hard to be the guy that's like, hey guys, this is what's going on, because a lot of people won't listen to you. So
a lot of people don't want to hear that too. They don't want to hear.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to hear it, but I mean, and the other thing is, a lot of people don't want to break up, right? They don't want to break up the friendships. They don't want to break up the relationships. And to me, I would rather be alone than be in something toxic.
Same.
You
I
know?
love myself. I'll be good. It's a whole relationship in itself.
And that kind of rolls back to the whole, like, you know, loving yourself and having the confidence, and I think that that's very important, because when you have those two things in your life, you're willing to be able to set yourself apart and go, okay, like, I'm out of here for a week or 2 weeks or ever.
Do you think you being an entrepreneur and studying up on that has leaked in or blended with you being poly? Is there any aspects of that helps you?
I think all of the aspects of my life have helped me in all of the aspects of my life, you know, and I think that that's why I'm kind of like going so hard, you know, because the business helps me with the hard situations that I go through, because I mean, if you know anything about being an entrepreneur or business, you know it's one of the hardest things to do, and that helps me in that way. And then, you know, the athleticism and being an athlete and going in and grinding out every day, that helps me as far as my self-discipline, which my self-discipline helps me in my relationships, and it helps me in the business world, and then polyamory kind of helps with my communication. It helps with, you know, filling up my love meter all the time, because I have zero time, which, you know, is another thing. Having these relationships that you know, you have multiple relationships, and then you don't have a lot of time, right? So then there's scheduling issues and trying to get everybody together and, you know, have a good time, and one person's pissed, and then you're like, fuck, the whole night's gonna suck. But, you know, you work through all those things, and then, you know, you add all the other stuff on there, and it really crunches my time down to, like, you know, almost nothing, which is a huge challenge for me. That's one of my biggest, I would have to say my biggest challenge in life right now is time. And that spills into everything. That spills into fighting, that spills into my relationships, that spills into business. But, you know, as you grow, you get better, and that's where we're headed.
I think you do a great job.
Aw, thanks.
Time in relationships.
Yeah.
Realistically, you know, I feel like if someone has a realistic viewpoint of an entrepreneur, and we're fucking adults, and, you know, we have life, I feel like you do a great job.
Yeah, and, you know, it's also finding the partners that are going to understand that, you know, and I it's interesting kind of the way that I go into relationships, because I do set heavy boundaries, and I do say, hey, this is the way that my life's going, this is where I want to be, you know. I kind of like put those things out there first and let them know, like, hey, this is how I work, this is how I operate, and if we can't seem to have a mutual understanding of that, then, you know, obviously we probably shouldn't be together. Yeah. But sometimes people fall in love, and then they're holding on to the L word, and you know, that's a long road. You get drugged through the dirt a lot.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah, you'll get drugged through the mud, you know, and that's not fun. I've been there. I've definitely held on to relationships way longer than I should have, and but I think, you know, you grow, and then you look back and you're like, okay, like, you know, I'm glad that relationship happened, and I'm glad that I was able to get out of it.
Yeah, those relationships help build and set my standards that I have now, you know, like you learn from experience. Yeah,
standards, boundaries. A lot of people don't know what their boundaries are. That's a huge issue, because a lot of people, I mean, not a lot of people, but
a lot of people
don't know themselves.
Not a lot, but a lot of
but
people.
A lot of people don't know themselves, you know. And if you don't know yourself, you're not going to know what your boundaries are, what your limits are. So through those relationships, you know, you'll figure those things out, I think. And it's interesting, because a lot of people talk about polyamory, and you know, it's super hyped right now, and I see, you know, unicorns getting in relationships with couples, and couples getting in relationships with couples that they don't really know a lot. They're not very educated, and they're kind of just flying by the seat of their pants, and they're like, oh, like, it'll work, we're all in love, and then it kind of like explodes, and they get burned really bad, and then they're like, oh, like, polyamory isn't great, and I had such a terrible and I had such a terrible time, I'll never do it again.
You just didn't follow the playbook.
well they go, and even if you did follow the playbook, that still might happen. But what I think people need to understand is that, like, your first monogamous relationship was great? Was it good? You know, was it amazing?
Well, I mean, I'm still in mine.
Did it? Fair enough. I mean, I can't ask you, but the viewers at home, you know, how'd your first monogamous relationship go? I'm sure it ended terribly. Statistically speaking, it ended terribly. And then what did you do? You went out and you dated the same type of person over again. and then so then I look at that and I'm like, hold on, I'm like, you did that with monogamy, yet you're not even going to give polyamory a second chance because you got burned. It's an alternative style of, you know what I mean? Your first relationship's not going to be great. Usually.
You don't have like the knowledge and the maturity in the relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm not saying that there aren't those one-offs that, like, you know, they meet, they fall in love. It's amazing, and they're able to grow and work together and study together and kind of build the foundation of their relationship. But I don't see it often.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, and a lot of people are lazy nowadays.
Oh, you tell them. Flex on them. Oh shit!
That was cute.
You did a titty move. Do it again. Oh, wow! I've never seen that before. I don't know how many times you've danced for me. You've never done the titty dance.
I've hardly ever danced for you. That's kind of sad.
She's never danced for me, to be honest. We're gonna go right there with it.
Oops.
Sorry. You're too hot. I just fucking grab you. I'm like, don't dance for me. Jesus Christ. All right, and the porno starting.
I was like, dude, we might be able to film a damn film a movie right after this.
We got the setup. Why not? Don't let it go to waste. You cannot let it go to waste.
I was like, I kind of like this, and I look good. I'm gonna put my heels back on.
Yeah. Keep them on the whole time. Take your clothes off. Put your heels back on.
That's what I bought them for. Action.
And action. Oh shit. We just got 10 more followers. So where are we headed next? We smoking a joint or what?
Yeah, let's smoke.
Yeah. All right. Well, that concludes our episode for today. I think we've been on for quite some time.
Yay.
How was your experience?
It's great. It's riveting.
Can you elaborate on that?
I'm excited to do the next one for sure.
Oh my God. You guys tell us who you would like to see on the podcast next.
That's a good idea.
And maybe we'll bring them on. We've got some people in mind. We're gonna get after it. Check out Freak Hustler. Check out
Tory Girl 101.
Check out Playhouse. Check out the Freak Show.
The OnlyFans.
Freak Show out. Thanks for watching.
Bye.